Today we wanted to tell you about an arrest that we've made in a 1992 cold case, and it's a case involving Rachel Guiles. She was a victim of a murder in 1992, and I'll try to go through this timeline of things that occurred so that you'll understand the full gravity of this case. But in 1992, Rachel was found in the area of 15th and 131st Street in Tampa, and she had been murdered. And it was obvious to investigators at that time that she had been the victim of a sexual battery, or at least an attempted sexual battery. That case has gone unsolved. There were DNA submissions that were made at the time, and the case had gone unsolved for many years up until this year. Today we have charged and are in the process right now of charging Rocky Juarez. He's a white male of date of birth of 5/21/67 in connection with that murder. Mr. Juarez has an interesting background, and he currently is serving 35 years in Florida State Prison. We are actually picking him up right now down in Desoto County, and he's been transported back to the Hillsborough County Jail for booking. But Mr. Juarez was, after the murder, he was not known to our victim at the time, but in the following year, in 1993, he was involved in two different incidents. One was an assault, aggravated assault, which we believe it was involving an attempted sexual battery. He was arrested. He was tried in that case. However, the victim in that case died before he could ever be convicted. Later that year, there was another case involving the Tampa Police Department where he was convicted, and he served 6 years in an attempted sexual battery for that case, for assaulting another female. And during the years, we had submitted other DNA samples on him, but due to the technology at the time, he was never connected to the first case. In 2000, our subject in this case, Juarez, was convicted of a murder involving a female by the name of Tina Pitts. He is currently serving 35 years for sexual battery and her murder. During this past year, investigators using our DNA task force, which is part of a National Institute of Justice grant, we started doing advanced DNA submissions with some of the new technology that has come about in the last couple of years. And with the assistance of FDOC and their labs, we were able, earlier this year around July, to receive a hit on Mr. Juarez in connection with the murder. Investigators are in the process right now of looking at where Juarez has lived and what got him to Hillsborough County in that 2002, in that 1992 to 2000 time period, where he had been. There is certainly the possibility that he's involved in other murders that are not yet known to law enforcement, and we're going back through the areas that we believe that he lived, other agencies in other states, and trying to connect him to any other unsolved murders. Right now, his immigration status, even though he has been in prison for a number of years, since 2000, he has not been out of prison since 2000. His immigration status is unknown, and we do not know if he was in the country legally at that time or even to this day, and that's something that we are currently researching with the assistance of ICE right now. And on that, I'll take any questions that I can answer on these cases.
So did he admit to the crime that you're charging with?
Well, he's doing time right now for the murder that occurred in 2000, and I don't know if he ever admitted to that. I doubt that he did. That was not his. In earlier cases, he had not admitted to the other assaults. He had gone to trial on those. So again, that's public record right now. That trial will be public record, and you can look at that. But in connection to this murder, we have not yet interviewed him. This is a CODIS hit. Is through the DNA linked database that the FBI uses. We were able to receive a hit. This hit would not have been possible in 1992 or even in 1995. This is recent advances in technology. Some of the same type of same material that was sent before, but now it can be broken down into more advanced analysis.
How reliable is this DNA match or this evidence?
Well, it's extremely reliable. It would be the probabilities that you see in some of these other trials. It's with the exclusion of any reasonable doubt when they make these DNA hits. And by the way, I do have the SAC Jim Madden from the FDOC here. So if you have any questions, SAC Madden will be glad to answer.
Has the family of the victim been contacted yet that you may have a suspect?
They have, and we have talked to her family. Lives in North Carolina now. A lot of her family. It has been, we're almost at 20 years since her murder, and we have spoken to her brother, and he's very, very pleased that we have been able to resolve this case. But I believe the rest of her family, she has very few people that survived.
What can you tell us about Rachel?
Again, I'm going to give you some information. Debbie's going to supply some. We know that she was living in that area up around 15th and 131st, and she was living in that area at the time, and she had a new boyfriend she had just met a few weeks before. And I don't know that much about her personally. She was not someone who had problems with law enforcement or anything like that. I think she was just living in that area and surviving and doing okay. And we believe that she probably met him at the Brass Mug Pub, which was a place that Juarez was frequenting at that time. And it was probably just in her mind, probably a harmless interaction, and she met up with the wrong guy. I think what's significant is the fact that he's since been connected. All of these have very similar themes. The two murders, both of them, the victim was found with ligatures tied around her neck, sexual assault, obviously the motive in both of these. So that, of course, raises suspicion that he was about 25 at the time these things were going on. That I think it's very prudent that we're going to have to go back, and we believe that he came across the United States up from maybe California and through the Southwest and where he may have lived, and see if we have similar cases that he could possibly be tied to.
Would it be fair to call this guy a possible serial killer?
I think it's fair to assume that he certainly is. We know that he's good for these two, and his MO would suggest that he either was a serial killer or he was a serial killer in the making, but clearly that's the way he was operating. His motive at that time was, to sexually assault these women. All of these cases involved that type of MO, and I think that would suggest that that's what he was out there doing.
How many cases right now do you have in type 2?
Well, there are two murder cases, and there were two other. One, I think, aggravated assault because we couldn't prove the sexual assault, but he tried to pull the lady's dress up, and so it was clear to law enforcement what he was doing. And one was an actual attempted sexual assault where the victim died during the prosecution of that case, and he was not convicted.
But just to be clear, he's been charged with two that you know of. This is the third one you're talking about.
No, he's doing time. He's doing 35 years now for the Tina Pitts case, and he is today being charged, in our case, Rachel Guiles.
And how do you spell Rachel's last name?
Guiles. And I'll give you a copy. Debbie's going to give you a copy of the arresting affidavit, which actually has a lot of the probable cause in there. It's more detailed, and that'll be in the affidavit that Debbie will give you a copy of after we get finished.
How old was Rachel?
Rachel at the time was 32.
If Mr. Perez is found guilty in this case, how many more years in prison is he facing?
Well, I mean, it depends on how the state, pursues this, and that'll be, that'll be down the road whether or not, it's a death penalty case or not, and I'm not in a position to say. I don't think this guy's ever going to see daylight, based on the current sentence that he's doing, but hopefully what this will do, it'll secure that, and also maybe we'll be able to bring resolution to some other families of other cases, and that's our goal at this point. And I think that one of the real points of this case today, and Jim Madden will tell you, is that the significance in the DNA evidence that we're looking at cases that occurred in 1992, have already gone through the DNA process, but due to new advances in science, these grants, this original grant that we received was a $500,000 grant. allowed us to submit directly for advanced DNA analysis and also paid for overtime. We have a cold case detective, one agent from the FDOE, Sandy Noblet, who works in our office full-time, Chris Fox, who's our cold case detective, and over the past few years since we've been doing these, they've been able to resolve a lot of these cases, but of course that new tool with the advanced DNA really helps us go back and look at these cases that are 20 years old maybe and get a fresh look at physical evidence.